A big welcome to everyone from Race Equality Matters. This is Get Ready for Black History Month event. Yeah, today we're expecting over 200 organisations. Many are new to Race Equality Matters, so a very warm welcome to yourselves. This event will be different to any of the others we've done. So for those that have been before, a very warm welcome to you, and thanks for coming back. So this clearly shows the appetite and the will for celebrating Black History Month and tackling race inequality. Attendees is a mixed ethnic minority colleagues from across the UK. The majority are, but there's senior leaders, D&I specialists and allies from a whole range of sectors across the UK, which is fantastic. As many of you know, Black History Month has been celebrated for over 30 years in the UK and was founded to recognise the incredible contributions of Black people in Britain. It goes without saying that its value and importance have never been more needed. It aims to challenge racism and educate communities and colleagues about the British history that has not been taught in schools. Over the past year, we've seen Black history being made every day. And this October will be a time for continued focus and action to tackle the racism that is seen all year round. So we're really delighted that you've joined us to explore and collaborate. I think that's the key part of today, collaborate with each other to help our respective organisations make Black History Month more meaningful and impactful than ever before. We can't change the past, but we can change the future. Next slide, please. For those that don't know me, my name is Javed, Javed, also known as Javed Thomas, co-founder of Race Equality Matters, along with the fantastic Raj Tulsiani, who's the chief exec of Green Park. And I'll make reference to the names later. Behind the scenes are Nish, Donna and Claire, who've been fantastically helping put this together, so a big thank you to them. And then I'll introduce you to some special guests soon. Race Equality Matters is a not-for-profit, and it aims to be a catalyst to move organisations and individuals from conversations to meaningful action that has real impact. So it's moving from words to action. We create concepts and solutions in collaborations with those with lived experience of race inequality. The key is to help organisations make the impact we all need and want to see and indeed feel. Next slide. Our solution so far that many of you may know about is Race Equality Week. There's a date for 2022. The Big Promise, Safe Space, Tea Break, and there's more in development pending funding and support, financial support from organisations. We will introduce you today to the Big Promise, Safe Space and Tea Break, and we'll collaborate around them. Before I take you through the agenda, a little bit of housekeeping. We'll be recording the event so you can access it later and share with colleagues in your organisation, along with the slides. If you have any questions along the way, please do put them in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them. Your sound will also be auto-disabled until the collaboration groups. Please feel free to tweet and post social media content during or after the event. You'll see our handles on the right. Next slide, please. Today's session is action-packed. It'll be dynamic, fast-paced, and we believe our most interactive event to date. We'll have interactive polls and we'll share the results with you. There'll be videos, small discussion groups, expert speakers, Elizabeth, Cameron, and Natalie Rose. And I said I'll introduce them a bit later. Our goal is that you leave here with ideas that you can start planning straight away so you're ready for Black History Month, and that you make new connections along the way as well. This is our chance to network with each other. We're aiming to finish by the allotted time of 1:45. I think I've said to some people, please feel free to eat and drink during the event because we appreciate the time of day and keep cool. To help set the scene, we'd like to share a short video of ex-West Indian cricketer Michael Holding speaking about racism, courtesy of Sky Sports. Some of you may have seen it, and it shares such an important message. Just advise, some viewers may find it a bit upsetting, but we want to bring a powerful voice to remind us of the need for race equality matters and Black History Month. Thank you.
How did you feel speaking down the barrel of a camera about this?
It's okay, Nish, thanks.
Well, I obviously didn't get as emotional as Ebony because, as I said in that video, I didn't really experience a great deal of that as a young man growing up in Jamaica, perhaps because I wasn't in that society or mixed in with people that would have shown me that racism. But what I want to expand on, though, is what I said about education. Education is important unless we just want to continue living the life that we are living and continue just having demonstrations every now and again and a few people saying a few things. And when I say education, I mean going back in history. What people need to understand is that this thing stems from a long time ago, hundreds of years ago. The dehumanization of the black race is where it started. And people will tell you, oh, that's a long time ago, get over it. No, you don't get over things like that. And the society has not gotten over something like that. I'll skip all the gap between those long years ago and make one point and then go backward. That lady in the Central Park in New York, Amy Cooper, I think is her name. If she did not have in her DNA the thought process that she was white, this man is black, if I call a police officer, 9 times out of 10 he's going to be white, I'm going to be considered right immediately. The black guy will have to prove that he's not guilty, and by the time he proves that he's not guilty, he might be dead. She had that in her mind from day one. That is why she said and did what she did. How do you get rid of that in the society? By educating both sides, black and white. I hear people talking about brainwashing. I didn't quite understand as a young man what brainwashing meant. I now understand what brainwashing meant, what it means. We have been brainwashed, and not just black people. White people have been brainwashed in different ways. I go back many years. Think about religion. You and I are supposed to be Christians. I'm not really a very holy person, not a very religious person. That's what we were taught. Look at Jesus Christ, the image that they give you of Jesus Christ. Pale skin, blonde hair, blue eyes. Where Jesus came from, who in that part of the world looks that way? But again, that's the brainwashing to show you this is what perfection is. This is what the image of perfection is. If you look at any plays of those days, Judas, who betrayed Jesus, he's a black man. Again, brainwashing people into think, oh, he's a black man. He's the bad man. Go through history, Wardy. These lights that are shining on us. You can tell me who invented the light bulb, right? Thomas Edison, right? Everybody knows Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. Thomas Edison invented a light bulb with a paper filament. It burnt out in no time at all. Can you tell me who invented the filament that makes these lights shine throughout? Nobody knows, because he's a black man. I was not taught in schools. Lewis Howard Latimer invented the carbon filament to allow lights to continuously shine. Who knows that? Everything should be taught. When you go back through the schooling as a young man, I remember my school days. I was never taught anything good about black people. And you cannot have a society that is brought up like that, both white and black, that only teach what's convenient to the teacher. History is written by the conqueror, not by those that are conquered. History is written by the people who do the harm, not by the people who get harmed. And we need to go back and teach both sides of history. And until we do that and educate the entire human race, this thing will not stop. They keep on telling me there's nothing called white privilege. Give me a break. I don't see any white people going into a store on Oxford Street and being followed. A black man walks in, somebody's following him everywhere he goes. That is basic white privilege. Whether that white person went in to rob the place or not, is not going to be thought of that way. And things like that have to change.
Very powerful. I think so eloquently put together, so passionate, and I think we just wanted to share it with, I'm sure you've seen it, but it's a really good piece, and we'll share the link with everyone. So again, it might be useful for getting the piece across. So big thank you to Michael and Sky for that. We do understand that some people had a couple of issues hearing. I think some could and some couldn't. It might be a case of how your Zoom set up. So it says you've got to maybe do something. Someone put in the notes, I can't find it now, about allowing microphone access. So that might be the case. We've got a couple more videos to see, so you might want to take a note of that. Before we start, we need to say, and I'd like to say a big thank you to some of our key partners. They enable you all to access these events free of charge, our How to Do It Right guides and workshops, and thought leadership events. Especially like to thank Green Park, our co-founder and lifetime visionary partner, BT. And next slide, our founding partners, Aviva, Data Marketing Association and HS2 and other collaborators there. I'm now delighted to introduce Elizabeth Cameron, who is going to share her personal take on why Black History Month is important, and she'll leave you with a couple of ideas you may want to consider. Elizabeth has worked for 20 years across the public, private and third sector. She's an anti-racist campaigner and ambassador for Show Racism the Red Card. She's currently chair of the Greater Manchester Combined Authority Race Equality Panel and works as the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Lead for One Manchester. So thank you for them allowing Elizabeth to join us today. And thank you, Elizabeth. She specializes in user participation, engagement and democracy at the highest of decision-making levels. So honored to have her here today. So welcome, Elizabeth. So the first question is, why is Black History Month so important to you?
So why is Black history important to me? I guess personally, because I never learnt about Black history when I was a child. You know, my version of what Black meant was an African woman with several brass rings round their neck, naked, perhaps something tied around their waist, Biafran children that had protruding stomachs and flies walking in and out of their mouths, and developed a picture that, you know, Black people didn't have real homes, because this is all that you saw outside of your own, you know, your kind of family group. And for some of us, like myself, who went to schools which were largely white and Black was in the real minority. I think it was only my family and one other that went to our really enormous school. You get the idea that to be Black is to be poor, to live in a mud hut. And while some people do, that's not everybody. And that, you know, you are needy to society, you're nothing more than needy. Blackie Sambo was the name of a character in the children's book that I remember first learning to read. And they had the gollywog on the jam jar, and most people who wore that gollywog were as likely as the NF you know, emblazoned sort of skinheads that we had at the time, and rockers that were around at those times to be derided, spat at, attacked. So, you know, the way it felt being Black wasn't good. And you know, where history comes in is when I first learned, it was first explained to me that Africa wasn't this tiny little place that just blew my mind, that we had a history that belonged to some of the history that Britain was sort of seemed to be claiming as their own, like Tutankhamun. You know, that actually had more to do with my heritage than theirs. And that, you know, we had been in the UK for quite some time, hundreds of years, and that we had a different experience other than slavery, which was then the other image that I was given through my school years. And that was the only Black history I was ever taught.
Brilliant, thank you. And building on that, why do you think organisations should do Black History Month themselves?
Well, because I think that all of that, when added together, causes a lot of what I see in the workplace. You know, I also have sort of 25, 30 years experience as somebody working in the trade union movement, in the equalities, you know, so the labour movement, supporting people in workplaces who've had some really difficult circumstances because of their race. And I think that's got a lot to do with it. And I think that we have, you know, who we think we are, how we behave, how we respond to people, how we feel about ourselves, how other people see us. And I mean by that, how white people will view us. So a lot of that stuff that I took in has been taken in a different way by my white counterparts. And they are carrying the legacy of that too. And how does that manifest itself? Well, it manifests itself in how people are employed, how they're developed, how they're trained. And I think that we all have the right to feel aspirational in the workplace. Not only do we deserve to be treated fairly and equitably, but we deserve to be treated aspirationally. So many teachers would dismiss us, you know, young black males are just most likely to be excluded if for something that they would do wrong that their white counterparts would do, like by 5 times. And then we see all the end of that come through the prison system and the justice system, and also in mental health. So people's mental health is being destroyed. Let's see what we can to do to make people embrace their history. Like I felt when I first found out we had a whole raft of black literature. I mean, I didn't even think we were an author, let alone an inventor. That video was excellent that you showed at the beginning.
Yeah, thank you. And just pick it up, actually related to that, a point Jennifer Dixon shared. She said, we taught at school about black people being slaves,
oh, yes,
not kings and queens in their own right. But fortunately for her, her teacher was black and always taught black history. So I think there's an opportunity for organizations to re-educate or get the message out to colleagues.
Yeah.
So one thing we talked about was, could you share a couple of ideas which you think could be helpful for organizations and employees could do during Black History Month?
Well, I think that what happens is that people say, well, I can't do it because, you know, I'm just doing this out of the goodness of my heart because I'm a black person and I don't want it to go by with nothing being done. So I thought a lot about the things you can do without rafts of money, okay? So if you've got an organization that will put some money behind you, then I'm going to talk about having an event with an empowering speaker, someone like Kahindi Andrews who's going to blow your mind, or get a Carla in there. You know, I don't know who you're working with, but I've been many years a youth work manager, so I tap into all those kind of cool people who talk about race and really empower you. That works. But I think I choose 3 really little things. You can just get people to think, you know, create the environments for people to perhaps have a conversation that might be free. You know, you have a couple of afternoons where people can have a talking about what it means to be like you. Could have a cultural food sharing event. You could ask people to think about what would the world look like without immigration? You know, what would the health service look like? What would the English football team look like? What sort of takeaways would they be getting? You know, I mean, we all love an odd cheeky chippy, but, you know, I think that's going to get boring. That's not the majority. There was a point where chicken tikka masala was the national dish, wasn't there? And I think that, you know, we can look at those sorts of situations like that. We can get people to share something about what they have felt has been you know, what it feels like, something they want to be proud of about their culture. And at the same time, they might want to put that, you know, so we've got like a tree perhaps made in the, you know, tea room. You know, anybody can quickly draw the bones of a tree on, you can tell I'm all Blue Peter, a few branches, sticky notes, any size, you know, just stick them on. More multicolored, the better, get the point across. We bring color to this society. We bring value. Let people think about that. Let them add some of the value that they think we bring, some of that extra that we bring to society, to the culture, and let them pin that on, and that will feel empowering for them, and they'll be educating in a bullet point. And at the same time, anyone, black or white, can be sharing a question they might have. Well, you know, what should I be calling people? I find it really difficult when I'm going to say, and that sort of thing can go up there. So real good snapshot for an organization to take some pictures of, share in the staffing group, or let it be a discussion point for your team. And finally, let me think, I had one more thing. Remind me,
about black people admire and inspire.
Oh, yes. And let them think about somebody who they admire. Let them think about who they admire and why, and see what first comes up in people's heads. Let people think. Something that I often do in my training, race awareness training, I just get people to, I just throw some words out there. I just go, let you think. We're visual thinkers, you see. So if I say, who's your best friend? You know, people have immediately imagined that. Who is your favorite pop star? Who's your this? Who's that? And you start to get a picture of who's around you, how diverse your inner circle is, and just might make you think a little bit about that. You know, whether you want to improve it or not, but just that awareness. Why is my world constructed like that? We've had a multicultural nation for years upon years upon years.
So just to wrap up on, who do you admire? Who inspires you?
So who inspires me? I think I have a number of people for different reasons. So I obviously love Oprah's journey and her philanthropic nature, though some people might call her a little bit too materialistic. I don't know. Mandela, I absolutely love his fight, you know, tremendous, but I know he did awful things to his wife and was unfaithful in the end. So I'm always realistic. Gandhi, absolutely, I love the peace of Gandhi, but then it all came out through Black History Month that, you know, Gandhi isn't all he seemed to be either. So look, nobody's perfect, but I think we can have heroes who are amongst us. I guess my ultimate hero is my mum, who made me feel like I could do or be anything. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, nobody's perfect, but that was a perfect session, Elizabeth. So thank you very much. Much appreciated. So yeah, very valued. Thank you. We'd now like to get your inputs. This is live and a new concept that we're exploring called My Name Is. So a person's name is the greatest connection to their own identity and individuality. Some might say it's the most important word in the world to that person. It's a sign of courtesy. When someone remembers our name after meeting us, we feel respected and more important. These are the words of Joyce E.A. Russell, an organizational psychologist and leadership expert who's featured in Forbes and the Washington Post. Imagine if people got your name wrong constantly. How would that make you feel? I expect many here today experience that. So what we'd like to explore is how organizations can be inclusive from day one. Our names are a fundamental part of who we are as a person. It's our individuality, so it's our individual identity. For many, it keeps alive our culture, our heritage, and our history. Across different communities and cultures, we can all pronounce names differently, and we can often get it wrong, sometimes innocently, and sometimes we are just lazy. It can also be considered as a microaggression. Many will not correct the person getting it wrong. It sends a message that you are minimal, you're not important in this environment, so why should I take the time and effort to learn your name? So we just want to share 4 examples of some names that people tend to get wrong. So maybe you can all have a go yourselves on that one. What tends to happen is we pronounce the name incorrectly, and the individual is then known by that new name. We give a nickname, whether the individual likes it or not. So I know an Abdullah, not called Abdullah A, is called Jeff. The individual given a surrogate name to make things easier for others. What does this do to demonstrate the inclusive culture of an organization? How does it make an individual feel? Can they really bring their whole self to work, which we always talk about? We've seen importance and a fantastic increase in numbers of people including their pronouns on LinkedIn, on social media, and on their email footers, he, him, she, her, etc. Can we build on this opportunity of inclusivity? Is there a reason why our organizations don't encourage or allow us to also use phonetically spell our names, e.g. on name badges or on email footers? So going back to the previous examples, next slide, please. So as you can see there, and I don't know if there's an article by Tandy Wa, Tandy Way, beg your pardon, that she's added the W back into her name. It used to be Thandy Newton, so it's Tandy Way. And it's Bijul Patel, so they put it down as L as in well. Amarfifachi and Nokwin. So by doing this, we can guarantee getting their names right. How will that make them feel? If they're a new person or they're going to see an important client and the client's calling them wrong, do you challenge it? Getting our names wrong impacts on our sense of self-worth, well-being, and also sense of self-belonging. So we would like to all help test something out. Can we all go into the chat and write our name, the correct spelling of our full name, and then also phonetically or an example of that? So I'll allow 20 seconds just all put our names down phonetically and see how we all come out. So do you think when someone joins an organization, they should be asked how phonetically their names are pronounced? So from day one, they can be who they really are. When you meet clients or supply chain, etc., can we do the same on both sides? Inclusion from the outset. So we'd like to just run a quick poll, please, to get your thoughts on this idea.
I mean, this is so important what you're looking at, Javed, because, I've always had my name shortened automatically. I never really give it as something else. And it occurred to me after a number of years, just what did that mean to my acceptance that somebody had that sort of power over me? So now we're naming it, we're talking about privilege, but that wasn't always there as concepts for people. They didn't know what it was that was sort of allowing them to acquiesce in that way.
Brilliant, thank you. So just a quick, what has your name ever been pronounced incorrectly? 73%. We'll share these results after, but just jumping down to the last thing. Do you think it would be a good idea for organizations to start using it from Black History Month? We should all do it as soon as possible. A third of us think that, and 2/3, yes, let's unite during Black History Month. Mine are saying not a good idea. So we'll come back to you with more information on that. So thank you tons. So what we thought, depending on your feedback, we thought it might be a great campaign to start driving, and then we can get all our organizations. We've got over 200 organizations here today, and we think over 1 million employees within them organizations. If we all got our organization to do it, and through social media, that could really blow up in a positive sense. So thank you all for that. So what we'd now like to do is share our first solution. And as mentioned, all our solutions are co-created by those with lived experience of race inequality. What we will have is a guide coming out to explain a bit more about it that you can share with colleagues, etc. So that will be coming soon, which you'll need to register to have access to. And as I said, because of our funders, it's free, but we are looking for sponsors. There you are. So I said all our solutions are co-created by those with lived experience of race inequality. So we're going to start with the big promise, an ideal solution to implementing Black History Month. And it can be set up in just a few weeks. Actually, Unison turned it around in a week. This is driven organization-wide where individuals commit to support race equality. So can we just show the first video, Anish? Thank you.
The Big Promise is a UK-wide initiative where organisations and their employees commit a promise to deliver real impact on race inequality in their workplace. Race Equality Matters Community has reviewed 15 charters with over 200 commitments that are measurable and will create meaningful change. from which we have identified bespoke sets of magnificent 7 promises for board members and executives, senior leaders, allies, and ethnic minority employees. We also have the Big Promise Guide. This guide, co-created with those with lived experience through research, it provides step-by-step support. The guide consists of 3 phases and 7 steps. The benefits of the guide are clear accountability, clear and transparent aims, simple but effective approach, transparent and measurable commitments, and an opportunity to hold senior leaders to account. Race Equality Matters provides organisations with the tools, resources and skills to implement them. Race Equality Matters is not a talking shop. We inspire change by creating solutions and working with organisations to implement them. One of those solutions is Safe Space. Safe Space is a 2-hour facilitated dialogue between 3 to 5 senior leaders or EXCO and up to 10 ethnic minority colleagues. Safe Space will provide a protected environment to enable brave conversations in order to generate action, remain focused, and achieve a meaningful outcome driven by the people it matters to. Safe Space will help you achieve facilitated, meaningful dialogue between ethnic minority employees and their senior leaders who must be willing to make a commitment and take action to address some of the key issues raised. Safe Space is split into 3 distinct parts. 1. Inform and educate. 2. Understand the issues. And 3. Take action. It is more than just a conversation. We also run Safe Space workshops and have a How to Do It Right guide which focuses on finding the right people to participate and create a safe and constructive environment for these conversations to take place. This guide consists of 4 key phases and 11 steps with top tips and checklists to assist, as well as a focus on well-being. This guide will enable brave conversations, facilitate uncomfortable discussions, and drive meaningful change.
So I'm now delighted to introduce you to our next speaker, fantastic Natalie Rose from HS2. Natalie's going to share her plans, or HS2's plans, for Black History Month, and one of them is to hold a safe space session, which you've just seen. Natalie's a corporate HSE advisor at HS2, and Natalie's one of the co-chairs of its BAME network. She joined the committee following its relaunch in 2020 because she wanted to be part of a network that made a difference from an underrepresented group and in a meaningful way. The aims and objectives of this network are bold and courageous, and together with a fellow co-chair and committee, they're working a number of work streams to bring it all to life and affect the infrastructure industry as a whole as well. So a big warm welcome to you, Natalie, and warm in more ways than one, I'm sure.
Yes, very warm, as you might be able to see by the fan behind me.
That's fine, thank you. Yeah, I've always wanted a fan, but never got one. So why do you think Black History Month is important for race equality in organisations?
I think it's important to celebrate and recognise all cultures that exist within an organisation. 365 days a year, but Black History Month is the perfect time to do that, specifically for the Black community. It helps to myth bust. I think Elizabeth referenced this earlier. Black history isn't just about slavery, rioting, or America. Of course, the events that last year with George Floyd highlighted the disproportionately negative behaviour towards Black people in America. So it's easy to think that this is just a problem in other countries. But the recent events with the Euros has highlighted that racism is still very much prevalent within the UK. That being said, though, it's an opportunity to celebrate and educate on all aspects of Black culture. It's really important when it comes to understanding why society is the way it is today. So we need to reflect on our history. And there is, in fact, a rich Black history in the UK. And you, of course, cannot be a member of the workplace without being a member of society. So encouraging people to bring themselves to work and be confident enough to share their lived experiences at work is important for overall education, I think.
Brilliant. Thank you, Natalie. So what are you planning to do during Black History Month, and why?
Okay, so we know the theme for Black History Month is proud to be. So we've set our own theme that's going to run alongside it, which is celebrate, collaborate, and reflect. So we are planning to focus on our Black staff through our intranet pages, and we have something that we run called HS2 and You, where it's a focus on an employee, interviewing them, asking them a series of questions about what it's like to work at HS2 and a few things about their personal life. But we're planning to have a focus just on Black staff for that month. So it'll be a proud to be HS2 and You feature. We want to celebrate Black culture through storytelling, dance and food. Elizabeth also mentioned earlier about maybe a food share, a culture share. We're thinking about, with the pandemic now, ways that we can do that, but we definitely want to share and celebrate culture. We also want to collaborate with other companies, whether that be a joint panel event or opening up some of our events to include external attendees. And of course, we want to reflect on history. We've actually got a member of our committee who has been conducting some research on UK Black history for a number of years now. So we're looking forward to see what she brings forward. And lastly, it's actually our first birthday. So we'll celebrate the network's first birthday on the 1st of October. So we want to take some time to reflect back on our achievements over the past year.
Brilliant, thank you. And one of the things you talk about is doing safe space solutions. So can you explain why you're doing safe space?
Yeah, we are going to do that. But I want to say from the outset that the door's always been open at HS2 to have this type of conversation within our organisation. Last year, following George Floyd's murder, our head of EDI put an article out on our intranet page. He also posted on LinkedIn. And very shortly after that, our CEO sent an email to all staff in support of him and acknowledging that the impact that this horrible event could potentially have on the well-being of staff. And in this email, our CEO asked anyone who had any comments or feedback on how to make HS2 a better place to work to respond back to him. So straight away, he was invited that conversation in. What followed was people coming back to him, which led to a series of conversations that were held between our Black, Asian and minority ethnic colleagues and senior leaders in our organisation. And we called this a roundtable discussion. And staff candidly shared some of their experiences in the workplace. And one of the things that came from that was the refresh of what was our multicultural network, which is now known as our BAME network. And we also had a book club. One person who replied suggested our CEO read the Rennie Edo Lodge book, Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. That then spiraled out to his entire exec team, the senior leadership team, and we rolled out a company-wide book club through the network. So a year on, we want to approach the same conversation that was held last year, but using the safe space format to give the conversation some additional structure, just so that we can assess how far we've come and what we plan to do in the future, and just to make sure that things that people said last year are actually changes are being made as a result of that.
Brilliant, thank you. And what do you envisage coming out of that?
Well, we've got the BAME network has got an objective, and one of the objectives is to hold our exec and board to account. So the outcome of that would be people's voices being heard, particularly from our BAME colleagues. So we want to use this format in a way that suits our organisation, and we want to use that to not only measure success against that objective, but to give our Black and Asian colleagues a sense of pride that their voices are being heard. At HS2, we do measure and report on EDI across a number of employment practices, but we want to demonstrate to our Black and Asian colleagues that their voices are important and that the network are here to sort of keep those conversations alive. So it's sort of twofold. It's to uplift our colleagues in terms of pride and making them feel even more so that their voices are heard. So it's worthwhile keeping a conversation going, but also holding our exec and board to account so that they are in touch with what's happening within the organisation. So by holding these conversations, we think that we can use that as well to engage with our communities along the line of route. So I'm sure you're aware that HS2 will spread across the UK, and by educating from within, we hope that our staff, whether that be a Black or Asian colleague or one of our allies, can take that education, and when they're going out and speaking to people in the community, or they're going into schools with high BAME populations, that they can use that knowledge to teach the future generation. It's all about, we have a vision of leaving a legacy. We're more than just a railway. We definitely want to leave that legacy, and culture is a massive part of that.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. Thank you, Natalie. Just have noticed there's been some comment about the term BAME. We're not going to go into discussion here today. However, our next, and we know it's a discussion that HS2 are having.
Yes.
It's just it's what's historically, I guess, been there. But the next we'd like to show, we're going to show tea break, and then we'll go into a breakout discussion. And we think tea break could be a really good tool to discuss the term BAME or not in your organisation. So if we can show the next video, that'd be fantastic, Nish.
The tea break provides the framework and opportunity for an organisation to hear the honest voice and feelings of its colleagues about race inequality. All employees are invited to join a 1-hour themed online discussion about an issue that matters. Individuals can remain anonymous, listen to others, or actively participate. It's freedom of choice. Benefits of the tea break include fosters inclusion, supports well-being, highlights issues for action, removes the barriers and the fear of talking about race, normalises conversations on race, and builds understanding of the issues. You can also join the Race Equality Matters Tea Break community. We've set up a peer support network on Guild. Guild is a community app for professionals. It provides private, secure spaces for collaborative discussion. Guild is already helping over 20,000 people have conversations that matter. We also have a tea break guide, co-created by those with lived experiences of race inequality. This guide consists of 4 phases and 11 steps. This guide outlines the practical steps you can follow to set up and run a tea break.
I want to say a huge thank you. And I've seen in the notes, sort of the chat, people saying, how amazing both Elizabeth and Natalie were. So thank you very much. You were hot in more ways than one in your content and topics. So thank you. We do have a full calendar of events coming up from September. So we'll be in touch with further details. On the screen, you'll see the next ones coming up. We are a not-for-profit, so we do need funding. So if your organization wants to be donations, sponsor, get some branding, very happy to do so. Here's some calendar events coming up. We are running workshops or masterclasses on different things, and we are going to start running a series of race network leads and future lead events, which will by popular demand. So we look forward to hearing your plans for Black History Month. Please do share them with us on social media. At Race Equality Matters or hashtag Race Equality Matters. And we also want to challenge you about the phonetic name concept. And can we all maybe after this with the hashtag my name is on social media, LinkedIn, put our phonetic names. Why don't we do it on our emails? So if you're out of office, I'll see your email come back and it comes through. But let's just start getting this movement going because that came up really high. So thank you for that. I think we said it earlier. I would suggest please do look at if you want to carry on this conversation within your organization, because everyone has a different perspective. Please do consider using it through Tea Break. real good opportunity. And then actually, depending what comes out of it, you know, fitting into the safe space where an organization can say, okay, this is how we're going to change it here, you know, whatever the terminology language. And again, do look at our big promise promises, because it really does help tackle it on that side. We don't use the word BAME, we use ethnic minority colleagues. And I understand people have global majority stuff, but what we're trying to do is get, I'm going to call it allies with everyone else. So actually the real perpetrators or the real blockers, etc., become the minority, but we have to unite and do that. And the promises were all decided upon and chosen by ethnic minority colleagues, saying this will make a difference in our organization. So to look at that. Hope you all found that helpful and useful. We'll watch out for other events. Please do just drop us a line to info@racecoordinates.com if you want to give any suggestions of how we can make these events better, or anything you want us to sort of focus on down the line, because we do, everything we do is being feedback from people. And so yeah, do let us know if we've missed a trick here today. I'm not going to solve the BAME problem. No one's going to solve the BAME problem, but I think hopefully we can tackle race inequality. So thank you all for your time. Have a lovely rest of the afternoon, and keep cool in more ways than one. Thanks all.